The Legend of Jigong, Chapter 82.
We are going to focus on the causal chain of events here. How the text masterfully weaves the mundane elements of unpaid bills and petty grifts with deeply supernatural elements.
That's clairvoyance and resurrecting monks.
Exactly. It forces us to look at a world where the magical and the bureaucratic are constantly crashing into each other, and how the people in that world actually navigate those collisions on a daily basis.
The pacing of this source material, it feels remarkably cinematic to me.
It really does.
You are following what seems like the main plot, but then you realize that every single extra in the background of the scene secretly has a complex, lethal backstory.
Yes, exactly.
If you bump into the wrong person at a noodle stand, you don't just get an apology. You might accidentally trigger a turf war.
Because the interconnectedness of the underworld, or the Greenwood, as this outlaw society is referred to in the text, it's absolute.
The Greenwood, right.
No action happens in a vacuum in this setting.
Well, let's jump right into this opening scene, because the physical comedy here really masks some fascinating character dynamics.
It's a great opening.
So we start with Jigong. For the context of this specific interaction, he is a famous, eccentric monk who deliberately looks ragged and unkempt.
Right. He presents himself a certain way.
Yeah, and he is sitting in a restaurant with a rather intense short man named Xu Pei. They have just finished eating.
And then things just go off the rails.
Completely. Out of nowhere, Jigong grabs a ceramic plate from the table and smashes it directly at Xu Pei.
He essentially uses the restaurant's crockery as a projectile to instigate a sudden, violent conflict.
Which is wild.
Delay.
And Xu Pei, predictably, gets furious and chases the monk out of the restaurant, leaving their table in ruins.
Right, making a huge scene.
This leaves the poor waiter standing there looking at the wreckage. And the text specifically notes that the waiter suddenly realizes he is witnessing a live scam.
Yeah, he realizes it's a premeditated setup. The live scam is such a fascinating piece of street theater, honestly.
How so?
Well, the entire brawl is performative. It's designed solely to create enough confusion and physical distance to avoid paying the bill.
Oh, so they are in on it together.
Exactly. The combatants are actually co-conspirators.
I have to pause on the sheer logistical absurdity of this specific scam, though.
It is pretty extreme.
The waiter chases them out into the street, demanding payment. And the text gives us the exact order he is trying to collect on.
Right, we get the itemized receipt.
He demands payment for exactly 20 pots of wine and 20 meat pies, plus the cost of the broken plates.
Which is just a staggering amount of consumption.
How are two people consuming 20 meat pies and 20 pots of wine in a single sitting?
It defies physics.
And their master escape plan, after eating half their body weight in heavy pastry and alcohol, is to run a high-intensity sprint through the city.
The sheer volume of the food actually serves a dual purpose in the narrative here.
Okay, what do you mean?
On one hand, it is classic comedic exaggeration. It paints a picture of intense gluttony.
Totally.
But on a deeper level, it establishes the audacity of these characters. They aren't just stealing a quick meal.
Right, they're going all out.
They are brazenly exploiting the restaurant to the maximum possible extent before pulling the ripcord on their escape plan. It shows a profound disrespect for the social contract of commerce.
That makes a lot of sense. And the stakes of the argument immediately shift from that grounded commerce into something wild.
The dialogue during the chase is incredible.
Let's look at it. Xu Pei is sprinting after Jigong, and he is screaming these epic, soaring threats.
Right, just at the top of his lungs.
He yells that if Jigong goes up to heaven, he will chase him all the way to the Lingxiao Palace.
The highest heavenly court.
Yeah, and if he tries to hide underground, he will chase him down to the Crystal Palace, which is the mythical underwater kingdom of the Dragon King.
The psychology of the chase here is brilliant, honestly.
It's so over the top.
Xu Pei is utilizing deeply grandiose mythological language. He is elevating a street scuffle over some meat pies to a battle of cosmic proportions.
He really is.
He is invoking the highest heavenly courts and the deepest mythical oceans to express his fake outrage.
What gets me is how Jigong responds to these threats of cosmic vengeance.
It's the best part.
He is running away, looking back over his shoulder, and instead of matching that mythological energy, he just yells, "This is a lawsuit."
It is a profound subversion of expectations.
It really is.
Xu Pei threatens mythological warfare, and Jigong responds by weaponizing civil bureaucracy.
But why does that work? Why is a lawsuit the comeback to the Dragon King?
Because it brings those soaring, mythic threats crashing violently back down to the gritty reality of the state.
Oh, I see.
In a highly regulated society, the threat of legal trouble, of being dragged in front of a local magistrate, having your name recorded, and facing the grinding wheels of the justice system is often far more terrifying than an abstract threat of heavenly retribution.
That is so true.
Jigong is basically telling Shupei, you can threaten me with gods all you want, but I am going to bury you in paperwork.
I love that.
It shows a universe where administrative punishment is presented as being just as daunting, if not more so, than facing divine entities.
Think about how that translates to modern life, too. We see this all the time when someone threatens to call their lawyer over, like a minor fender bender.
Exactly.
They're trying to summon the most intimidating power they can think of, the legal system, to crush a minor inconvenience.
And this poor waiter is sprinting down the street behind them, completely oblivious to this dynamic.
Yeah, he thinks this entire situation is just about the microeconomics of 20 meat pies.
When the reality of who these men are and the systems they're invoking is far more dangerous.
The waiter is just trapped in his own economic reality, blind to the larger board.
And that localized chaos pushes us directly into the next layer of this universe, which is local law enforcement.
Right. This crosstown chase leads us right into the path of two local constables, Yang Guodong and Yin Shixong.
And this introduces a completely different, much darker subplot that has been playing out off-screen.
And we really need to note the overlapping trajectories here. These officers were actively chasing Jigong earlier in the day.
They were.
They chased him all the way to a landmark called the 5 Mile Monument, lost his trail, gave up, and decided to just head back on their patrol route.
Just a normal day on the beat for them.
But as they're walking back, they run into a local official at the South Gate. And this official delivers a piece of news that completely derails their day.
He casually asks the officers if they happen to see the corpse of a poor monk on their route.
Just casually.
He introduces a homicide investigation with a casual tone of asking about the weather.
Just, hey, did you guys trip over a dead monk?
Yeah, it's wild.
And the backstory the official provides is intense. He claims that 2 local thugs cornered this monk and beat him to death.
And we have to look at the names of these thugs because they are incredibly specific.
Yes. Zhang Fu, the heaven-grabbing sparrowhawk, and Li Lu, the street-crossing mouse.
The nomenclature of the outlaws, the members of the Greenwood, is a crucial element of the world building here.
How so?
Well, these aren't just colorful nicknames. They are functional descriptors of their criminal methodologies and their desired status within the underworld.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like a sparrowhawk implies someone who strikes suddenly from above, perhaps specializing in ambush or highway robbery.
Right, like an aerial predator.
Exactly. And a street-crossing mouse implies a totally different skill set. Someone who moves unseen through urban environments, an infiltrator or a thief who utilizes the shadows of the city.
So you have the aerial ambush predator and the urban infiltrator teaming up to beat a ragged monk to death.
It's quite the duo.
But the official explains a logistical nightmare that has occurred. The local magistrate had already come down to the scene, formally examined the corpse, completed the required state business, and posted guards to watch over the body.
Right, standard procedure.
But then, the official claims, the corpse just got up and ran away out the South Gate.
This is where we really see the text contrast the rigid structure of bureaucracy with the fluidity of myth.
Yes.
The state has protocols for a murder. You examine the body, you post guards, you file the report. But how does a bureaucratic system handle a victim that refuses to stay dead?
I mean, if I were a police officer and someone told me the corpse I was supposed to be guarding just jogged out the south exit, I would question my own sanity.
You think you were losing your mind?
I would assume I was the victim of an elaborate prank or that I was having a breakdown. But look at Officer Yin Shixong's reaction.
This is so telling.
He doesn't panic. He doesn't ask for a psychological evaluation. He just turns to his partner and calmly states that Jigong has great magical powers and therefore cannot die.
Yin Shixong's reaction defines the reality of this setting, I think.
In what way?
Magic is not a hidden, earth-shattering secret that breaks a person's mind when they encounter it. In this universe, magic is an accepted variable of daily life.
Just another thing on the clipboard.
Right. Law enforcement has to casually factor divine immortality into their patrol routes. It is a profound administrative resignation.
Administrative resignation, I like that.
They process the impossible as just another bureaucratic headache.
It totally shifts their operational priorities, too. They hear that the man they were chasing earlier was murdered, resurrected, and is now running around again.
And their response is basically, well, let's head back to the crossroads and see if he shows up.
Yeah, they go from a manhunt to casually expecting to greet a resurrected homicide victim.
The narrative doesn't allow us to dwell on the philosophical implications of life after death here.
No, not at all.
It immediately yanks us back to the physical comedy of the street level, prioritizing the immediate action over existential dread.
And that brings us to the reunion at the crossroads, and it is a scene of pure, unadulterated chaos.
It's so good.
The officers are standing there, processing this news, when suddenly, sprinting toward them from the east, comes Jigong, still being chased by Zhu Pei.
The timing is incredible.
The local official, the one who just reported the murder, points at the sweaty, out-of-breath monk running toward them and announces to the group, "The corpse is here."
The juxtaposition there is brilliant.
And it really is.
You have this terrifying concept of a reanimated corpse, completely undercut by the comedic reality of a guy desperately fleeing a dispute over a restaurant bill.
Jigong runs straight up to the officers and immediately demands they arrest the short man, Zhu Pei.
And they actually listen to him.
Yeah. The officers step in, intercept Zhu Pei, and slap him in heavy iron chains. Zhu Pei is outraged.
Naturally.
He protests to the cops, arguing that he shouldn't be locked up just for getting into a fist fight with a monk. And this triggers Officer Yin to explain a fascinating piece of local law.
Officer Yin outlines the strict protocol handed down by the local magistrate.
What does he say?
He tells Zhu Pei that when a layman like a regular citizen and a monk get into a physical altercation, the standing order is to chain the layman immediately, and the officers are explicitly forbidden from chaining the monk.
I really want to debate this legal double standard, because it feels significant.
It definitely is.
Is this an indication of intense, institutionalized respect for religious figures in the society? Does the state mandate deference to the religious order?
That's one way to look at it.
Or is this just a purely pragmatic acknowledgement by the government that trying to put an iron chain on a magical, shape-shifting, teleporting entity is a massive waste of time, resources, and good iron?
I would argue it leans heavily toward pragmatism, bordering on risk management.
Risk management.
Yeah. While there is historical precedent in various dynasties for religious figures falling under different legal jurisdictions or receiving certain leniencies, the context here is highly specific to characters like Jigong.
Right, they know who he is.
Exactly. The authorities know exactly who and what they're dealing with. If you are a beat cop, why would you actively antagonize a being who can defy death and manipulate reality?
You definitely wouldn't want to.
You put the chains on the guy who cannot turn into a puff of smoke. It is the path of least resistance for law enforcement.
That pragmatism tracks with everything else we've seen. So they have Zhu Pei securely chained. And right at that exact moment, who finally catches up to the group?
The poor waiter.
Waiter Lou, the guy from the restaurant, still desperately trying to get someone to pay for those 20 meat pies.
The persistence of the mundane economy refuses to be ignored, even in the middle of an arrest.
Officer Yang actually recognizes the waiter. And instead of arresting him for being involved in the brawl, Yang just casually waves him off.
He just dismisses him.
Yeah, he tells the waiter to put the 20 pies and the 20 pots of wine on his official tab and that he will settle up later.
And the waiter is thrilled, bows in thanks, and runs off.
Let's pause on that interaction because it reveals a lot about the informal economy and the subtle corruption of the constabulary.
It really does. Yang is using his authority and his badge to essentially create unlimited credit at local businesses.
He's eating for free by leveraging his uniform.
Yep.
And that concept of the official tab brings us directly to their next encounter.
Right after the waiter leaves.
Just after, yeah. The group is approached by a local business owner named Manager Sun.
And this interaction is so strange.
Sun rushes up to Officer Yang with an incredibly somber, mournful expression and offers his deepest condolences. Yang is completely confused. He asks, "What am I supposed to be sad about?"
Because Manager Sun reveals that earlier that day, Jigong had personally visited his business to inform him that Officer Yang's sick wife had tragically passed away.
A completely fabricated funeral announcement.
That's such a dark prank.
Sun is furious because he actually believed the hunk, and he went out and purchased expensive funeral gifts to send to Yang's house to pay his respects.
He realizes in real time that he has been completely played.
But the crucial question is why? Like, why did Jigong, this supposedly enlightened monk, execute this specific, cruel trick?
When confronted, Jigong admits it openly.
What does he say?
He says he tricked Sun purely because Sun has a well-known habit of writing flower accounts.
We need to define flyer accounts to understand the gravity of this prank.
It is a term for inflated, fraudulent, or fake tabs.
Oh, like skimming off the top.
Exactly. It is creative accounting designed to rip off customers, essentially a form of systemic embezzlement run by the business owner.
So Jigong is acting as, like, an eccentric financial regulator.
That's a great way to put it.
Instead of reporting Sun to the authorities who, as we just saw with Officer Yang's free meat pies, are already participating in the informal, corrupt economy anyway, Jigong takes matters into his own hands.
Let's analyze this brand of justice because it's unique.
He doesn't preach a sermon about the evils of greed.
No, he enacts a highly targeted, morbid, karmic prank.
Jigong operates as a force of chaotic good within this specific ecosystem, right?
He identifies systemic corruption, like manager Sun stealing from his community via inflated tabs, and he disrupts it using extreme, deeply uncomfortable social engineering.
Right. He hits the corrupt manager exactly where it hurts, in his own wallet.
By tricking him into spending money on unnecessary funeral gifts. It is poetic justice delivered through public embarrassment and financial loss.
When Officer Yang gets understandably upset about a monk going around town declaring his wife dead, Jigong drops a line that completely recontextualizes the prank.
What does he tell him?
He tells Yang, "One curse brings 10 years of prosperity. She won't die." And then he casually hands Yang a piece of medicine specifically for his sick wife.
The worldview embedded in that line is fascinating to me.
How so?
The verbal curse, the spreading of fake tragedy, is framed almost like a cosmic vaccination.
A cosmic vaccination. I love that.
You introduce a small, controlled amount of fake misfortune into the world to trigger a massive immune response of real prosperity from the universe.
Yeah. It's like he's using emotional terrorism to reset the karmic balance.
Yes.
The medicine proves that Jigong isn't just playing cruel tricks for his own amusement. He is actively providing healing and protection. He just wraps it in a deeply unorthodox, socially disruptive delivery system.
He solves the spiritual sickness of the manager's greed and the physical sickness of the officer's wife in one interconnected move.
While this bizarre display of social engineering is happening, Zhu Pei, the guy still in heavy iron chains, is watching the entire thing unfold.
Just taking it all in.
He turns to the officers and asks, "Who exactly is this monk?" Officer Yin proudly informs him, "This is the famous Jigong of Lingen Temple. You should be honored you get to be sued by him."
The officers treat it like a badge of honor, like a brush with local celebrity.
But Zhu Pei doesn't feel honored. He feels mortal terror. Upon hearing the name, Zhu Pei realizes he is fundamentally miscalculated.
Big time.
He isn't dealing with a crazy street beggar. He is dealing with a legendary divine force. In a split second, fueled by pure panic, Zhu Pei exerts immense physical strength, snaps his iron chains, and flips backward onto a roof to make his escape.
The physical prowess required to break iron chains instantly reclassifies Zhu Pei from a comedic grifter to a highly dangerous, capable martial artist.
Right as Zhu Pei is vanishing over the rooftops, Jigong casually drops a narrative bomb on the officers.
It changes everything.
He looks at them and says, "Don't let him get away. That man is responsible for 2 murders in Longyu County." And just like that, the street-level comedy ends.
The tonal shift is staggering.
It gives you whiplash.
In the span of a few pages, the source material has dragged us from a comedic dine and dash over pastries through police corruption and accounting fraud straight into the path of an escaped double murderer.
It's so fast.
Jigong's revelation instantly pivots our deep dive into a dark, supernatural, true crime narrative.
It forces us to ask, who actually is Zhu Pei, and why is he on the run with 2 bodies on his ledger?
The text immediately rewinds to provide us with the backstory here.
And it introduces a completely new set of variables. We meet a character named Daoist Ye Qishuang.
And Ye is not your standard pious holy man.
No. The text explains he is a former bandit, a member of the Greenwood, who transitioned into being a priest at the Sanking Temple.
This is a classic trope that reflects the historical realities of the era, actually.
Really? Tell me more about that.
Monasteries and temples often acted as sanctuaries, or sometimes convenient fronts, for retired or hiding members of the outlaw community.
Oh, I see.
Taking the robes was a way to basically erase a violent past.
But Daoist Ye isn't just seeking a quiet retirement, tending to incense. He has managed to obtain a dark magic book called the Yin Mo Bao Zuan, which translates to the Yin Demon Precious Seal.
The source material lists the incredible powers this book grants to whoever can master it.
And the list is terrifying.
The catalog of abilities represents absolute mastery over the fundamental laws of nature.
Let's break down exactly what this book offers. It teaches the user how to call the wind and rain, turn scattered beings into living soldiers, move entire mountains, alter the 5 elements of reality.
It goes on.
It does. Turn plain stone into solid gold, catch demons, and control 5 specific ghosts to do their bidding.
If we look at the systemic impact of just one of those powers turning stone to gold, it is devastating.
Yeah, that would break everything.
That isn't just a parlor trick. That is the power to single-handedly destroy a regional economy through hyperinflation.
Exactly.
If you can print infinite, untraceable wealth, you can buy armies, corrupt entire governments, and destabilize the empire without ever lifting a sword.
But if money doesn't work, you can literally toss a handful of beans on the ground and summon a private militia.
It is the ultimate cheat code for reality.
You have God-level administrative access to the physical and spiritual world. But in any system with that much power, there has to be a mechanism for access control. What is the catch?
The catch is the human element, honestly, the psychological toll of pursuing that access.
What do you mean?
The power is so absolute that it creates an immediate, inescapable gravitational pull for betrayal and paranoia among anyone who knows it exists.
Enter Liz Oming, known in the underworld by the chilling moniker, the Open Wind Ghost.
Great name.
Li is an old friend of Taoist Ye from their violent bandit days. Li arrives at the temple, witnesses Ye practicing this reality-bending magic, and essentially makes a seemingly simple request. Teach me how to do that.
It is a request framed in the language of brotherhood and shared history.
Right.
But in the Greenwood, trust is a liability, not an asset.
Taoist Ye refuses. He tells Li, I cannot teach you. The magic requires you to kowtow 1,000 times a day.
That's a lot of kowtows.
Now, Li Xiaoming hears this requirement, and his immediate instinctual reaction is to assume Ye is lying.
Of course he does.
He believes Ye is just hoarding the power and making up an absurd, punishing physical requirement as an excuse to keep him away from the book.
I want to focus on that specific requirement, 1,000 kowtows a day.
Yeah, what's the significance there?
In the logic of mystical systems, this acts as a form of physical proof of work, similar to how cryptocurrency networks require massive computational effort to validate a transaction.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy.
It is designed to test the ego and the physical endurance of the practitioner, ensuring that only those with absolute, unbroken discipline can access the server of this magic.
But the tragedy is that whether Yi is telling the truth about the kowtows or lying to protect his monopoly on the power is entirely irrelevant to the outcome.
Precisely. What matters is Li's immediate leap to legal suspicion.
Right.
It highlights how fiercely guarded knowledge is in this universe. Information and power are not shared, they are hoarded as a primary survival mechanism.
And that hoarding immediately breeds a deadly zero-sum jealousy.
Deadly is the operative word here. Li doesn't just get angry and storm off.
No, he waits. He
He
calculates.
bides his time.
His moment arrives when Taoist Ye is hired by a local man named Gao Ziggy to perform a demon-catching ritual.
Yi is up on his elevated ritual platform, deeply entrenched in the complex ceremony, entirely focused on the spiritual realm.
And Li, his old friend, sneaks up behind him and murders him with a single knife strike.
He assassinates the priest mid-ritual.
Just brutal.
He strikes when Ye's attention is diverted from the physical threats of the Greenwood to the spiritual threats of his new profession.
He kills Yi, steals the Inmobile Zhuan, and immediately flees the scene.
He has to go underground.
He goes into deep hiding at a place called the Dexing Inn, locking himself away, spending his days furiously reading the book and trying to decode the magic for himself.
So now, this artifact of absolute power is in the hands of a backstabbing, paranoid murderer.
Which brings us back to our original question. How does Xu Pei, the man who started our story by smashing a plate over a restaurant bill, fit into this supernatural theft?
The source material weaves their timelines together perfectly right here.
We learned that before the incident at the restaurant, Xu Pei was wandering the area. He was out of work because his bandit gang had recently been busted by the authorities.
He is adrift.
Yeah, and he randomly bumps into Li Xiaoming outside the Dexing Inn.
Two members of the Greenwood, both displaced, finding each other totally by chance.
And Li, who now possesses the magic book, realizes he can exploit Xu Pei.
Xu Pei asks to learn the magic, mirroring the exact request Li made to the Taoist priest.
But instead of telling Xu to perform 1,000 kowtows, Li gives Xu a deeply disturbing, highly specific fetch quest.
It's pretty grim.
Li claims that to practice 2 specific surveillance powers, clairvoyance, known as the thousand-mile eye, and clairaudience, known as the wind-catching ear, he requires a very specific ritual component.
He tells you he needs the skull, specifically the cranium, of a young girl.
I find the choice of the ritual component highly significant. Why the skull of a young girl?
In many dark magic traditions, innocence is viewed as a raw, uncorrupted power source that can be inverted for evil.
That makes sense.
But practically, it is a horrific escalation. It shows Lee attempting to establish a rigid hierarchy.
By making him do this.
Exactly. He's not treating Zhu as a brother or an equal. He's treating him as a disposable henchman designed to do his darkest, most dangerous, dirty work.
Xu Pei, whom the text explicitly describes as somewhat gullible and easily manipulated, doesn't even question the logistics or the morality of this dark magic.
He just goes along with it.
He just accepts the quest and sets out to find a skull. But his execution of this grim task is almost hilariously incompetent.
It is the world's worst graveyard scavenger hunt.
You would assume a henchman tasked with procuring human remains for a dark ritual would operate with extreme stealth.
Right, like sneaking around at night.
He would sneak into a cemetery at midnight with a shovel. But no. Xu Pei just walks right up to public graveyards in broad daylight, approaches the professional groundskeepers, and bluntly asks, "Excuse me, do you know who is buried in this specific grave over here?"
He operates with a profound lack of subtlety, completely misunderstanding the criminal requirement for secrecy.
He is a heavily armed, highly suspicious man walking up to cemetery workers and asking for skulls like he's asking for directions to the nearest tavern.
Naturally, the gravekeepers take one look at him, rightfully assume he is a clumsy grave robber, and completely stonewall him.
They claim ignorance. After failing repeatedly, Xu Pei gets frustrated, gives up on the search, and sits down in a forest to pout about his failure.
And this moment of vulnerability is where the true mastermind of this narrative arc enters the picture.
A character who serves as the perfect foil to Xu Pei's brute force ignorance and Li Xiaoming's paranoid greed.
Oh, absolutely.
Let me introduce the character who I believe represents the absolute peak of psychological camouflage in this text. Feng Yuanzi, famously known as the daytime lame monk.
The specific character details on Feng are exceptional.
They are so cool.
The text explains that during the daylight hours, he walks around on crutches, painstakingly portraying himself as severely crippled and physically helpless.
It's an act.
But it is an elaborate, full-time, highly disciplined alibi, because when the sun goes down, he drops the crutches. At night, he is a highly agile, wall-scaling, roof-running master cat burglar.
Think about the dedication required to maintain that lie. By strictly controlling how society perceives him during the day, he renders himself completely invisible to suspicion for his nighttime crimes.
It's genius.
If a house is robbed by someone leaping across rooftops, the police are never going to interrogate the beggar on crutches. It is urban camouflage perfected.
He manipulates the societal biases regarding disability to create an airtight alibi.
This fake crippled ninja monk bumps into a very frustrated Xu Pei in the forest, and Xu Pei, being the gullible pawn he is, just spills his entire story to this stranger.
He just tells him everything.
He tells Feng all about Li Xiaoming, the Yin Mo Bao Zuan, the incredible powers it grants, and his frustrating failed quest to find the skull of a young girl.
And Feng, being the master manipulator, instantly analyzes the data and sees the entire board clearly.
He figures it out immediately.
He realizes right away that Li is playing Xu for a fool. The Skull Quest is almost certainly a wild goose chase, a hazing ritual designed to keep Xu busy and out of the way while Li hoards the magic for himself.
But here's the crucial pivot. Feng doesn't just kindly warn Xu that he's being exploited. He weaponizes Xu's ignorance for his own gain.
Because the text notes a critical piece of backstory. Feng has a long-standing bitter grudge against Li Xiaoming.
Right.
Feng wants Li dead, and now he knows Li has a book of unimaginable power. So Feng employs one of the classic 36 stratagems of ancient Chinese military and political strategy.
Which one?
Borrowing a knife to kill another.
Let's explore the mechanics of that stratagem here. Why is it so effective in this specific scenario?
The core of the stratagem is risk mitigation. Feng wants a dangerous man dead, but why risk his own life in a direct confrontation?
Right. Why get your own hands dirty?
Exactly. He has a heavily armed, easily manipulated, highly capable knife sitting right in front of him in the form of Xu Pei. So Feng carefully dismantles Li's lies.
He talks him into it.
He convinces Xu that the Skull Quest was a trick, And then he easily persuades the enraged Zhu that the only logical, honorable solution is for the two of them to return to the Dexing Inn, assassinate Li together, and claim the magic book for themselves.
It showcases the ruthless, strategic intellect of Feng compared to the clumsy brute force of both Li and Xu.
He is playing chess while they are playing checkers.
Feng controls the entire board and eliminates his rival without ever having to strike the first blow himself. It is a masterclass in manipulation.
The plot is set. The assassination is going down.
And this is where the dark, supernatural backstory comes crashing violently back into the present timeline of our titular monk, Jigong, in the most accidental, absurdly mundane way imaginable.
It is the ultimate convergence of timelines at the Dexing Inn.
Here's exactly how the heist goes down. It is the second watch of the night, late and pitch black. Feng and Zhu arrive at the inn.
They are ready.
Feng, being the strategic one, stays outside in the courtyard to keep watch and act as the lookout. Zhu sneaks silently into the inn, creeps up to the second-floor room, and finds Li Xiaoming fast asleep at the table, his head resting near the book.
There's a deep karmic irony here.
Oh, how so?
Well, Li murdered the Taoist priest when the priest's guard was down during a ritual, and now Li is caught in the exact same vulnerable, unaware position.
Live by the ambush, die by the ambush. Xu Pei doesn't hesitate. With one brutal practice stroke, he decapitates Li Xiaoming.
This takes him out.
He grabs the Yinmo Bao's wand, securing the ultimate cheat code book, and turns to leave. It is a flawless, silent assassination. The stratagem worked perfectly. The heist is complete.
But then an alarm is raised that shatters the silence of the night.
Right as Zhu is walking toward the door, someone down in the courtyard yells, "Murder! Someone has been killed!"
But it is not a night watchman.
Yeah.
It is not a guard. It is Jigong, the magical monk, who entirely by coincidence just happened to be renting a room at that exact same inn on that exact same night.
And we must ask, what was a divine, immortal monk doing wandering around the courtyard in the middle of the night to discover a murder?
He had just woken up to use the outhouse.
I cannot get over the layered absurdity of this coincidence.
It's hilarious.
Imagine being an assassin, executing the perfect heist, securing a book of literal god-level magic, and your entire operation gets busted because a teleporting immortal monk had a late-night bladder emergency at the exact wrong time.
It introduces an element of supreme, almost divine absurdity to the hyper-serious criminal underworld.
It really does.
The best-laid plans of master manipulators and ruthless killers are completely undone by the most basic human bodily function. It suggests that no amount of strategy can account for the sheer randomness of the universe.
The disruption creates sheer theatrical chaos. Jigong's yell wakes up the entire inn.
And who else happens to be staying there that night?
2 official police constables, Cha Yuanlu and Du Zinying.
They hear Jigong yell murder, and they react instinctively, running out of their room and down to the courtyard to find him.
And in their haste, they commit a massive tactical error.
They do. They leave their own room completely empty and unsecured.
Exactly. And this is where Feng Yuanzi, the lame monk who was keeping watch on the roof, makes a split-second decision.
He sees an opportunity.
He hears the commotion, sees the cops run out, and drives quietly down from the roof directly into the cops' empty room.
He is likely executing a classic crime of opportunity, looking for anything of value coins, weapons, supplies, to steal in the confusion of the moment.
He quickly searches the room and finds a wet official government documents.
And he recognizes it.
He doesn't have time to read the whole thing, but he sees enough of the official seals to know exactly what it is. It is a state-issued warrant for the arrest of a massive, high-profile criminal known as the Universe Thief Mouse, Hua Yanlong.
We get another incredible outlaw title there.
Universe Thief Mouse.
But the systemic significance of the specific document cannot be overstated.
Feng grabs the warrant, stuffs it deep inside his shirt, climbs back out the window, and escapes over the rooftops, easily outrunning the officers who try to chase him when they realize someone is in their room.
The physical agility of this man, who spends 12 hours a day pretending to need crutches, is astounding.
Let's trace the butterfly effect of the underworld here, because it is staggering.
It really is.
What started as a personal vendetta between 2 former bandits over a magic book has just accidentally escalated into a major political incident. By stealing that specific warrant, Feng hasn't just committed a petty theft of paper, he has actively blinded the state's justice system.
How so? Explain that a bit more.
Because without that physical document, the constables have no legal authority to pursue Huayunlong.
Oh, I see.
They cannot cross jurisdictions, they cannot demand local assistance, and they cannot officially make an arrest. The text is masterfully showing us how isolated criminal acts bleed into and destabilize the broader systems of the world.
A squabble over a book leads to a murder, which leads to an interrupted bathroom break, which leads to a crime of opportunity, which ultimately results in the state losing its legal grip on a major criminal enterprise.
It highlights the extreme fragility of institutional control.
Yeah.
The state believes its authority is absolute, symbolized by the heavy stamps on a written warrant.
But in the dark of night, a single agile thief can dismantle that entire apparatus of state authority just by folding a piece of paper and putting it in his shirt.
The empire's power rests on highly vulnerable parchment.
So the heist was messy, the timeline was blown, but ultimately it was successful for the antagonists.
Right, they got what they wanted.
Xu Pei and Feng Yuanzi managed to reunite outside the town limits. They possess the Yin Mo Bao's Yuan, and they hold a stolen government warrant that gives them immense leverage.
But they cannot stay in the area. The heat from the murder and the stolen state secrets is too high.
They need a sanctuary, and fast.
And Feng, who always has a strategic plan, knows exactly where they need to go.
Feng outlines the next phase of their escape. They are going to travel to Kaiwa County, specifically heading to a location known as the Iron Buddha Temple.
Now, an Iron Buddha temple sounds imposing enough on its own, but it is the individual waiting for them there that raises the stakes of this narrative to a terrifying new level.
The source material introduces us to the antagonist residing at the temple, Zheng Tianrui, known throughout the Greenwood as the Golden-Eyed Buddha.
The Golden-Eyed Buddha.
And Jiang isn't just quietly hiding out in this temple seeking asylum. The text reveals he is actively sending out Greenwood arrows and invitations.
What exactly does that entail?
The Greenwood arrows act as a coded summons, a physical rallying cry distributed through the hidden networks of the criminal diaspora.
Oh, wow, so he's actively recruiting.
Yes, he is gathering dozens of the most dangerous hardened outlaws from all along the Sichuan routes.
But he isn't just throwing a reunion for old bandits. The text describes his construction efforts. He is actively militarizing the temple grounds.
Building a literal fortress.
He is building secret hollow walls and hidden underground cellars. He's transforming a religious site into an impenetrable fortress designed specifically to harbor wanted fugitives from the state.
This is a massive escalation of the threat level that we need to clearly identify.
It's no longer just petty crime.
Exactly. This is no longer just about rogue bandits fighting over scraps in a tavern or two guys running a dine and dash. Jiang Tianrui is building an organized, structural criminal enterprise.
He is creating physical infrastructure for the underworld.
It's essentially the early stages of an insurgency.
Precisely. By building these hidden cellars, fortifying the walls, and gathering an army of seasoned killers under one roof, the stakes have transitioned from street-level scuffles to a potential armed uprising against the state.
The Iron Buddha Temple is actively becoming a sovereign, militarized territory for the lawless.
And that heavily fortified, heavily armed temple is exactly where our two fugitives carrying forbidden reality-altering magic and stolen state secrets are heading.
It's a powder keg waiting to go off.
The text leaves us on a brilliant, tense cliffhanger. Xu Pei and Feng Yuanyi are walking down the main road toward Kaiwa County.
And then what happens?
As they enter a dark stretch of forest, they see a solitary figure approaching them on the path. The source material doesn't immediately tell us who this figure is, but it describes the psychological feeling of the encounter.
It says it felt like a long drought meeting sweet rain, meeting an old friend in a strange land.
A feeling of immense relief and dangerous camaraderie.